live, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of this Council on Thursday the 15th of February 2024. My name is Councillor Kevin Lagan and I am the Chairperson of the Council. Members, we're streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you're giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and the live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn your microphone on and turn it off when finished. And please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible, please. Okay, Tara, apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies have been received from Councillor Fowl, Councillor Laybourne, Councillor Morley, Councillor Shaughnessy and Councillor Stubb. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I also add Councillor White, who's stuck somewhere on a train between here and London?
Lovely. Did you get that, Tara? Councillor White sends her apologies.
I did, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Members, agenda item 3, which is the minutes of the 14th of December 2023. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of December 2023, found on pages 7 to 16 of the agenda pack, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Pratt. Second. Members, any points of accuracy any member wishes to raise? No points of accuracy. Therefore, can I agree by assent that we approve these minutes? Agreed. Thank you, members. We move on to agenda item 4, which is declarations of interest. This is to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to the items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Members, also tonight, because the Local Government Finance Act 1992 section 106 states, will any members affected by section 106 please note that any declarations to that effect should be made upon commencement of the meeting or immediately after arrival if this is later. Under section 106, a member who has not paid an amount due in respect of their council tax for at least 2 months after it became payable is precluded from voting on any matters affecting the level of council tax or the arrangements for administrating the council tax. The member is, however, entitled to speak. Members, do I have any declarations, please? So, no declarations. Thank you very much, members. We move on to agenda item 5, which is public questions, and I can advise we've had no questions levied to us by the public. Agenda item 6, Chairperson's announcements. I have 2 announcements. One is the standard one, which I'm suspending part 4, section 8.3 of the requirement to stand when addressing the chair. And the second one is a much sadder announcement. Members, we were all shocked, I'm sure, when we heard the terrible news about Bernard Casey's passing. Those who knew Bernard greater than we have asked that Bernard, being a very quiet, simple person, that we just reflect on Bernard. And in that respect, I'd ask all members and officers in the chamber just to stand just for a short, brief moment of silence in memory of Bernard. Members and officers, thank you very much indeed. It's an absolute tragic loss for us all. And members, thank you for observing that minute so respectfully. We move on to agenda item 7, which is the minute book, and this is to consider any recommendations brought forward from committees as detailed on the agenda. In 7A, we have the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which is of the 7th of December 2023. We move to the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on December the 7th of December 2023, and a call upon Councillor Morgan to present them, please, Councillor Morgan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, members, I present the recommendation coming forward from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 7th of December 2023 for consideration by the Council. It was a member scrutiny request, in fact, put in by myself with regards to Maldon citizens' advice, and it's recommended that the findings of this scrutiny as detailed in the briefing paper at Appendix A be endorsed. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Spenceley.
Second by Councillor Paula Spenceley.
All in favour?
Agreed.
Agreed. Right, thanks.
Thank you. That's agreed, Tara. And then we move on to the next, which is 7B, which is Strategy and Resources Committee, which was of the 25th of January 2024. And I call upon Councillor Durham to present those, please.
Thank you very much. Chairman, I present the recommendations coming forward from Strategy and Resources Committee on the 25th of January 2024 for consideration by the Council, relating initially to the Council Tax Support Scheme 24-25. We have 5 recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the following changes to the existing schemes are approved. That is A, cost of living increase in line with the Department of Work and Pension Scheme included in the local Council Tax Support Scheme for 24-25 for pensioners only. B, any legislative changes being introduced to the Housing Benefit Scheme for 24-25 are mirrored in the Council's LCTS scheme to ensure consistencies. C, minor technical amendments to ensure that we're able to administer the scheme reflecting current local and national guidance, that we may disregard anything determined to be a local welfare payment from our calculation. Little 2, that these decisions have been made following a member's careful reading of and regard to the Equality Impact Assessment at Appendix 1. Little 3, that members note the unchanged framework for the hardship provision at Appendix 2. Little 4, that the policy document at Appendix 3 be approved. And 5, that the policy document at Appendix B be approved. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Fluker. Can we agree by assent? Or?
Agreed.
Thank you very much indeed. Then we come to the business rate and council tax discretionary policies. There are 2 recommendations. Little 1, the proposed discretionary non-domestic rate relief scheme at Appendix 5 be approved. Little 2, that the proposed empty homes and second homes premium policy at Appendix 6 be approved. Is there a seconder for that, please? Again, I saw Councillor Fluker. Agree by assent, can we?
Agreed.
Thank you very much indeed. Please note the following recommendations coming forward from Strategy and Resources Committee are not for consideration at this point, as they form part of Agenda Item 9, the 2024-25 Budget and Medium-Term Financial Strategy, due to be considered later at this meeting. That includes the Treasury Management Strategy 2024-25, Capital and Investment Strategies for 24-25, our Minimum Revenue Statement 2024-25, the 2023-24 Revised and Original 2024-25 Budget Estimates, and finally the Medium-Term Financial Strategy 2024-25 on to 2026-27, and Item 15, the Income and Savings Proposal 2024-25 and 2026-27.
Thank you, Councillor Durham. We move on to item 7C, Strategy and Resources Committee of the 1st of February 2024. And again, I call on Councillor Durham to present these.
Yeah, me again. Thank you, Chairman. I present the recommendation coming forward from Strategy and Resources Committee on the 1st of February 2024 for consideration by the Council. This is the pay policy statement. One recommendation that the pay policy statement attached at Appendix 1 be agreed. Can I have a seconder? So Councillor Driver, agree by assent or take vote? Agreed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Durham. We move on to agenda item 8, which is minutes of the meeting of the council. Just to propose that these are noted and agreed by assent, members.
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Members, we now move on to a change of the order of business and exclusion of the press and public. In accordance with procedural 1 brackets 4A, I am varying the order of business and moving up agenda item 15, the agenda and savings agenda, my apologies. Income and savings proposals 2024 and 2025 to 2026 2027 up the agenda to be considered next, as it directly relates to the 2024-25 budget at agenda item 9. As item 16 is private and confidential, we will need to exclude the public and press from the discussions, and following consideration of this item, the meeting will resume in open session. I therefore move that the Council resolves that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that it is likely the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Pratt. Seconded. Is that agreed, members? Agreed. Agreed. Thank you very much indeed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yep. We have no members of the press.
the live stream is running again.
That's great. Thank you very much. And that is at resume business at 7:49 in open session. We move on to agenda item 9, which is 2024-25 budget and medium-term financial strategy. And this is found on pages 243 to 420 of the agenda paper. Members' attention is drawn to Procedure Rule 13.5 that sets out the requirement for any vote taken at a budget decision meeting, as defined by Local Government Finance Act 1992, to be recorded in the minutes. This applies to items 9D and 9E. Members' attention is also drawn to Procedure Rule 113A, which sets out the time limit in relation to the budget speech, and Rule 113B, detailing the requirements for making alternative proposals or amendments as part of the budget and council tax setting. Leader, please make your budget statement.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present to you the proposed budget for the next financial year. This represents a significant improvement in the position reported at this time last year. Following the finance peer review in early 2023 and at the council meeting in July, members agreed an ambitious target of setting a fully balanced budget for 24-25. This was to be achieved without relying on the use of reserves and balances which have been needed in recent years. With the Council's agreement to the income and saving proposals recommended by its Strategy and Resources Committee, we can tonight realise that ambition and set ourselves in good stead to achieve financial sustainability for the Council and our residents in the years ahead. We've got to this position through hard work of officers and members over the last year, and in particular the work that has taken place at the Finance Member Group. I would like to again thank all officers in coming forward with proposals and for the finance team for their work. So commendations to Ms Lucas and her team. The Finance Member Group was chaired very well by Councillor Durham and Councillor Fittock, and I would like to thank them for the work in terms of chairing those meetings. The group has carefully considered the options available to the Council to enable it to achieve its corporate plan and to do within the Council's available resources. All political groups have worked closely together and have recognised the need for cross-party cooperation for us to effectively work as a council. We have had a series of workshops over the last few months, facilitated by the LGA, bringing together the group leaders and deputies of all groups and chairs of the main committees, along with the corporate leadership to ensure a shared vision of the council. At the same time, we have maintained appropriate challenge and scrutiny. Last month, the LGA conducted a review of the Finance Peer Review Action Plan, and their feedback in a nutshell is very good. So we can be really proud of that in terms of the Council. During the last 12 months, we have achieved a significant amount of work together for the benefit of our residents and our district. Our commitment to delivering good quality services continues. We've extended our waste contract with Suez for a further 8 years, and we're halfway through the flexible collection of plastic, hard to say, hopefully got my teeth in. And our response to residents' inquiries exceeds that of other councils in Essex. Whilst we remain focused on delivering excellent cost-effective service at the council, we also recognise that we can't achieve everything on our own, and have therefore sought to strengthen our partnerships across the district. One Maldon district continues to flourish, delivering its action plan and regular community events that, due to an increase in partnership, now have to run at the Maldon Town Hall. We are continuing to maximise the opportunity to utilise the council offices as a hub for partnership working, to enhance community safety, working with the police, citizens' advice, the Maldon CVS, Barclays Bank, all continue to work within our building. We've also met our refugee emergency response duties, delivering support to those displaced from their home countries. We've also strengthened our relationship with the NHS and Mid-South Essex Integrated Care Board, including jointly funding a management role to deliver health, integration, prevention service and outcomes from our community partnerships. We are working with the NHS currently to ensure that health services remain in the district. As a council, we need to do all that we can to keep outpatient services within the district. We have great success in bidding for and securing over £200,000 of funding, specifically for community and wellbeing projects. We continue to deliver against our 1 million allocation of UK Shared Prosperity Fund, distributing an allocation of over an allocation of over £1 million. Today, we launched our Rural England Prosperity Fund, distributing an allocation of over £400,000 to businesses and community organisations across the district. I would ensure that you get your communities, your parish councils to look at this fund because it directly funds both community and businesses, and it's a wonderful resource to tap into. We should be immensely proud of our ability to attract funding of what is in excess of £1 million over the course of the last year, in addition to our core revenue budgets. In addition to this, tourism continues to play a vital role in our local economy that is reflected in the latest volume and value report, showing that since the pandemic, Maldon district attracting a higher number of day trippers in comparison to the rest of the county. We've also increased our profile within the North Essex Councils Group, and I'm now proud to chair the North Essex Economic Board. We should look forward to working more collaboratively with our neighbouring councils over the coming months and years. We are ensuring that the actions planned by NEEB reflect the range of businesses across this district, and that it includes small to medium-sized businesses that flourish within Maldon and the wider area. North Essex Council provides the opportunity to work collaboratively with other authorities and look at how and the way we share services. Like all councils, we continue to face significant challenges, not least the ongoing financial pressures, which will need to be addressed through continued efforts to transform and deliver our services in the most efficient way. We have to make tough choices about what and how we deliver as a council and our corporate priorities. Members will have the opportunity later in the year to review even our corporate plan and establish what our priorities are from 24 to 27. I'm no under illusion as to the scale of these challenges. However, I remain optimistic by continuing our trajectory of improved collaborative working, and I'm sure all members welcome the opportunity to do that, to continue with the success in this council. And I would like to thank all those in groups and the non-aligned for their collaboration. With the demands that we face with our external partners, it's crucial that we take into account the lives of our residents and the success of organisations across the district. I'm sure we can deliver the best possible outcomes for our district over the next 3 years and beyond. I would therefore like to propose that the Council accepts the recommendations at 9A, Treasury Management Strategy 24-25, 9B, Capital Investment Strategies for 23-24 and Minimum Reserve Investment 24-25, Medium-Term Financial Strategy 24-25 to 26-27, Revised 24% on D, Revised 24-25 and Original 24-25 Budget Estimates and Council Tax 24-25, and E, the Council Tax for 24-25. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded. It's Councillor Durham.
Thank you, members.
Thank you, Leader. Before we move on, members, I'd just like to go over to the Interim Chief Financial Officer for comment and any presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. With your agreement, I'm just going to go on to the presentation that I've prepared and just run members through a few slides to set out the position. Actually, I'm not sure that's the right presentation, sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to go back. Bear with me. I'm not sure how I get out of this now.
Do you want me to share my screen? That's easier.
Sorry, I think there was 2 presentations, but I can't see the second one now, sorry. I think the... oh, there, I think it should be that one. Let's try. No, that's still the same one.
This one.
Yeah, that should be correct. Thank you, Tara. Can I take control?
That's fine. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. So, just to remind members of the process that we've been through to get to this point. So the work has commenced significantly earlier in the year, and as I alluded to earlier, there was an update to Council in July of last year following the finance peer review. Since then, there's been regular meetings of the finance member group, which commenced in August, and as the Chair of Strategy and Resources mentioned earlier, there's been regular meetings fortnightly in recent months to enable that work to progress as required. The work of that group has then been recommended on to the Strategy and Resources Committee, which have considered the budget on more than one occasion. And there has been all member budget briefing for all members to be aware of the financial position earlier in January. So the budget recommended to Council by Strategy and Resources tonight is the culmination of all of that work. Tara, apologies, I can't. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So just to signpost you to the reports that are contained within the pack. So the first report is item 9A. Appendix 1 of that report is the proposed Treasury Management Strategy for the year ahead. In essence, that sets out how the Council manages its cash flows, borrowing and investments, and the associated risks of those. There's numerous measures that the Council takes to ensure adequate risk management of its cash resources, which includes the measures set out in the report, including investment limits on how long we can invest for, the sectors we invest in, and the counterparties that we use, as well as the credit ratings associated with that. And in line with the Treasury Management Code, we are required to report on a number of potential indicators, which again are set out within that report. Appendix 2 sets out the Treasury Management practices that the Council follows, which again are in line with the SIP for Treasury Management Code. So if I move now on to the second report that forms part of the budget papers tonight, that's item 9B, the capital and investment strategies and minimum revenue provision. So the capital strategy sets out the Council's planned capital expenditure for the year ahead and sets out how that's proposed to be funded. The investment strategy sets out our forecast level of investments and the expected return we are anticipating to make on those investments. And the minimum revenue statement confirms that the Council has no external borrowing planned for the year ahead. Although, as members are aware, we are now using some internal borrowing to fund the waste vehicles as previously agreed by Council. So this slide just summarises the capital bids that were put forward and are recommended by Strategy and Resources Committee for your approval. Again, those capital projects have been the subject of discussion and debate at Strategy and Resources prior to their recommendation into Council tonight. And they're found at the appendix to that report. So moving on to item 9C, the medium-term financial strategy for the Council. Appendix 1 of that report is the actual medium-term financial strategy, which is a 3-year forecast based on the assumptions which are detailed within the report, and it's also conditional on the current year forecast position. The position presented in the report, as alluded to previously at this meeting, was an underlying budget gap of £151,000 for the next year, rising to £591,000 by year 3. The approval of the savings and income in the previous item will now enable us to set a balanced budget for the next financial year. Appendix A of that strategy provides more detail of how the position has changed year on year. Moving on to item 9D, this report sets out the revised 23-24 and the original 2024-25 budget estimates. Again, there's a huge amount of detail contained within the reports, but to summarise what the appendices show, at Appendix 1, there's a high-level revenue summary of the budget, and that's supplemented with more detail at Appendix 2 in terms of the original and revised budgets for this year. And Appendix 3 sets out the original budgets for this year compared to the proposed budgets for the next financial year, 24-25. Appendix 4 sets out our forecast use of reserves based on our assumptions in terms of how the reserves level at the end of this year and how much will be forecast to be needed for the next financial year. And that's, yeah, as I say, detailed within that appendix. And Appendix 5 is my statutory obligation to provide a statement on the robustness of the budget and the adequacy of the reserves. And as we'll see in a minute, our reserves position is now forecast to be considerably stronger than it was previously and meets our minimum threshold in terms of the minimum level of general balances that we seek to maintain as a council. Finally, Appendix 6 to that report sets out the budget survey results. The budget was consulted on earlier in the summer, and there's a lot of detail within the report in terms of the priorities of our residents in terms of what they feel the priorities are for the council. So as I alluded to, the projected general fund balance for next year now is projected to be around 5.8 million at the start of the next financial year. Without any savings or income proposals at item 515 being agreed, we would be facing a drawdown of £151,000 next year. But as it is, now that those have been agreed, the closing balance would be projected to be the same level, so 5.8 million. So the council tax report is an important report as in terms of the suite of documents presented to you tonight. I just wanted to draw your attention to the most important items. So within that report, you'll find the levels of council tax that are proposed or have been agreed by all of the precepting authorities, including Essex County Council, the fire, the police, and all the parishes. And it contains our statutory obligation to show how the council tax requirement for this council has been calculated. You'll see within that report that we are proposing a council tax increase for the next financial year of 2.98%, which equates to an increase of £6.52 on the average Band D property. I think that was the last slide, so I think that's all I was intending to say. Other than apologies, Chair, I did just want to draw members' attention to a couple of typos in the report which just relate to the financial year. So I think in the proposal that the leader just recommended for the capital and investment strategy, it's called 23-24, but it should obviously be 24-25. And secondly, there is also, apologies, I think another typo in terms of the financial year. So on item 9D, which is the revised 23-24 and original 24-25 budget estimates, the recommendation B requests an average Band D council tax of £225.27, excluding parish precepts. And it's stated for the year 23-24, but it should be for the year 24-25. So I just wanted to correct those for the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms Lucas. Thank you. And thank you very much indeed for the presentation and all of the work that you've done to get us to the stage of understanding some very complex accountancy. We move on to the leaders of the opposition now have a right to reply to the budget statement made by the leader. I'd like to call on Councillor Morgan on behalf of the Conservative group, please, first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think I better stand up and stretch legs. Firstly, can I thank the leader for his presentation, and I would like to sort of stress what I believe to be the spirit of that presentation, namely that this isn't the leader's budget, it isn't the administration's budget, it's the council's budget, put together by the four parties working together in the finance members group. And again, I also commend the chairmanship of Councillors Durham and Fittock in pushing that through. A great deal of work was done. And it sort of reminds me of creating a very fine blended whiskey. 4 distinct and different flavours mixed together, stirred, not shaken, to create a harmonious and extremely wholesome result. But like a great whiskey, it needs an extra dash, a sort of dash of crystal clarity. And I think that refreshing dash was provided by the 151 officer, Miss Lucas, and the other officers that worked so hard to help us and steered us through to the, what I think, excellent budget we have got, and which I now commend to members. Thank you.
We'll move on to the district support group, and I call upon Councillor Stilts, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand to deliver the Maldon Support Group's budget response. The group thank the Section 151 officer for presenting the budget for the coming financial term. We recognise that this is a council budget which has been formed by all parties working together. We accept that the initial budget gap reported in the autumn has been reduced as a result of the council receiving an increase in investment income because of high interest rates and the government maintaining its annual settlement figure, rather than reducing it as originally forecast. Had that not been the case, the budget, as was indicated, would have a significant shortfall this year. We also keep in mind that as more pressures are put onto the councils by cuts in funding from central government, with rising costs of services and inflationary pressure, although it is probable that interest rates will drop in the coming months, the government settlement will reduce next year. This will mean that unless this council applies true fiscal diligence, immediately it will have a significant budget deficit in the coming years, and it is unlikely to remain viable in its current form. Therefore, more saving will have to be made in the future. Overall, the council has not been successful in delivering income through corporate projects, and the support group therefore asks that a cost versus income analysis is carried out as a matter of urgency. In the interest of local council taxpayers, we should look to some of our neighbours' initiatives to work with partners and start reducing our costs immediately, as delaying such actions at this critical time will mean having to make even more savings in the future. We understand that this may have an impact on the services, but we would hope that this council can achieve the required savings with the least service level reduction to our residents. The Maldon Support Group supports the principle of this budget, however, proposes that going forward, and to enable us by working together, we can make the significant savings required to keep the council viable. A full review of the financial implications of providing non-statutory and discretionary services and the cost of delivering and executing the corporate plan is undertaken and reported to this council as a matter of urgency. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Stilt. Leader, do you want to respond now, or would you like to respond at the end?
I'll respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Stilts. I'll now call upon the leader of the Liberal Democrat group, Councillor Driver, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure I shall match the flourish of Councillor Morgan, but I will do my best. As leader of the Liberal Democrat group, I would like to add my thanks to that of the leader for the way in which the budget setting process has been conducted. The Finance Working Group has worked constructively over a number of months, very ably supported by our 151 officer, to arrive at a proposed budget which has been endorsed by SNR and is now before us for consideration this evening. This budget follows detailed scrutiny by councillors from across all the political groups. We haven't always agreed, but there has been a genuine desire to find a workable solution, and this we have done. The aim from the outset for the Finance Working Group has been to arrive at a balanced budget and to resist using reserves while maintaining services. This has not been an easy process, as it's required some very difficult decisions. There is recognition that we, like so many other councillors, face considerable financial pressures which are likely to continue into the foreseeable future. Managers from across the council have openly and constructively engaged with the Finance Working Group to propose budget savings while keeping to a minimum any loss of service. They are to be recommended for their hard work and willingness to consider the difficult options that they've proposed. The Lib Dem group was elected on a prospectus of positive change. We promised to work constructively with other groups for the good of the council and the residents we serve. This we have done and will continue to do so. Lib Dems have always been passionate about the importance of local councils delivering the services needed for vibrant communities. Sadly, the heart has been ripped out of many local councils because of the years of huge cutbacks in funding. We are now in a position where councils of all political persuasions and none are calling for realistic funding agreements that allow councils to plan in the medium to long term to meet local needs. Going forward, these voices need to be heard. The services delivered by local councils provide the glue that hold communities together. These are often the discretionary services that have become increasingly squeezed, leaving communities impoverished. Constant cutting saves money in the short term, but can build social problems that become very expensive to address in the longer term. We, as Lib Dems, will continue to work across the political divide to fight for the services that our residents deserve and which they elected us to deliver. Finally, I agree with the leader that working in partnership with others is vital if we're going to deliver the services our residents deserve. But a word of caution. We mustn't allow a desire for short-term financial benefit to blunt our voice in demanding the appropriate infrastructure for our district. In particular, we must challenge the poor medical provision in the district, which has been so woefully inadequate for many years. Sadly, there has been a distinct lack of political will over a long period to achieve the services needed by the community we serve. This needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Driver. Leader, call upon you to respond, please. Thank you.
I'm not sure where the leader of the district support group was when the LGA came back in January, because the feedback that we had from that finance peer review was they were extremely impressed with what we'd done at Maldon District Council. They were extremely impressed in terms of the way that we'd managed the budget and the work that we'd done. So maybe that the leader during that day had fallen asleep when the LGA said where we were and what we'd done is very good.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I take exception to being told that I'd fallen asleep in a meeting. I was at that meeting and I did hear what the LGA said, and I did not say anything against the LGA in my speech. And I take huge exception to what you have just said to me.
I appreciate your view. However, your statement contradicted what the LGA said, and that's my point. We need to, as you say, produce workable solutions. The workable solutions are not about cutting the budgets, statutory or non-statutory. That doesn't work. As the leader of the Liberal Democrats has just said, if we take that approach, we will hit the hardest people on the lowest incomes in the district who need the greatest support. You cannot take that approach. We need to ensure, yes, work with the North East Essex councils. That's what we're doing. We are being positively engaging across those councils to ensure that we can share those services. I keep hearing about what happens if the interest rates drop. Well, if the interest rates drop and we don't get that investment, nobody else in this country gets that investment. The whole economy would be to pot. So that argument just does not stack up. We need to ensure that we take long-term views, as the leader of the Democrats is saying. We need to ensure that we're taking views where we look at our corporate plan, we look at how we do what is needed for this district. That's ensuring that our corporate plan fits our budget. That's the next step, because we weren't able to do that last year because of the way the corporate plan was rushed. I agree with the leader of the Liberal Democrats that we really need to ensure that the NHS services stay in the district, and the council at the moment, the officers at the moment, are doing their utmost to ensure that happens. And we use Section 106 money wherever possible to support that aim.
Thank you very much. Councillor Durham, indeed, we can have a contribution. So,
thank you. It's just very brief, and I'm not going to criticise anybody. I just wanted to slightly correct a colleague, the leader of the Liberal Democrats. There has been a political will to deliver a new hospital. Those that Councillor Fleetwood, Councillor Pratt will know, I chaired meetings, and they were monthly pre-pandemic, where in this chamber we got all of the respective heads of all the various elements that compose the NHS, provide the nurses, the midwives, everybody else, and we had them in this room monthly, trying to negotiate with them a new facility or extension of the facilities at St Peter's, month in, month out, and we tried. We got fairly close at one stage, but it got to the stage in this very chamber where it became extremely evident, and I'm not sure who was in those meetings at the time, it dawned on me when I chaired it that the various elements of the NHS simply didn't talk to one another, because the property side didn't deliver to the clinical, didn't talk to the clinical side, the maternity didn't speak to the stroke. Nobody actually spoke, and we sat here month after month, and they couldn't decide what they wanted in the hospital. We argued whether it should have beds or not for inevitable.
I think we're talking about the budget, and we're not paying for the hospital.
Well, I just wanted to correct a statement that was said in the budget, but there was a political will, there remains a political will. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, members, we've had quite a lot of information. We've had very... Councillor Driver, please.
Can I just respond to that?
Yes.
I appreciate the comment that Councillor Durham's made. However, for the last 30 years, there hasn't been the political will to see that change, because actually for 30 years they've been talking about improvements to that hospital. So I am not just talking about this council, it's this council and beyond. And Well, and there we go. And it was to that beyond I was referring to, as well as this council.
Thank you very much indeed. So there's those points have been noted, and we all feel the same way about what's happened in the district about our medical services and facilities. Councillor Cilla Norman.
How much I agree with what's just been said. I have actually been in this chamber for the last 25 years when it has been talked about the hospital. We've had all the information. We've even had land suggested to us. But I don't think that this council in the past has put enough effort into getting it up and running. Thank you.
Thank you. I would have a slight disagreement with that from doing the researches that I've done, but your point is valid and noted. Members, we're focusing on the budget now. We have some recommendations. We have to make recommendations 9D and 9E. They must be a recorded vote. But for expedience of process, what I'm proposing to do is to take 9A, 9B and 9C, and I'll read those out in a second to say exactly what they are, as a block recommendation to be taken by assent. So it's 9A, which is a Treasury Management Strategy 2024-2025. 9B is the Capital Investment Strategies for 2024-2025, a Minimum Reserve Statement 2024-2025. Excuse me. And 9C, the Medium-Term Financial Strategy 2024-2025 to 2026-2027. I move that these are accepted. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan. Do we take these by assent, members? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Now we have to move on to 9D and to 9E, and I'll read these in full. 9D is the revised 2023-2024 and original 2024 and 25 budget estimates and council tax 2024-25, which are found on pages 367 to 410. There are 5 recommendations on this. They are A, that the revised 2023-2024 and original 2024-25 general fund revenue budget estimates appendices 1, 2 and 3, and an average band D council tax of £225 excluding parish precepts, a £6.52 increase for 2024-25, which is in appendix 1. C, which is policies on the delegated use of financial reserves, which is found in appendix 4. D, maintain the current policy of a minimal general fund balance of 2.6 million, and E, that the council gives due regard to the interim chief officer section 151 officer statement on the robustness of budgets and the adequacies of reserves in appendix 5. Now, these must be recorded votes. So those recommendations we're either voting for, against or abstain. Tara, would you be kind enough to take the recorded vote, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So in relation to agenda item D, as the Chairman just read out, if you could indicate for, against or abstain when I call your name, please, starting with Councillor Bassinger.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Burwood.
4.
Councillor Driver.
4.
Councillor Durham.
4.
Councillor Fittock. 4. Councillor Fluker.
Yep, sorry, Chairman, it's slightly unusual to take this all together, but I mean, I agree with 4 out of 5, but not 1 in particular. So, Chairman, on the basis that we have a balanced budget, and I know how hard it is for a lot of people in my ward to pay their council tax, I don't agree, Chairman, that we should increase the Band D council tax. So, Chairman, on that basis, I have to vote against all 5. So...
That's noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes.
4.
Councillor Jennings.
4.
Councillor Lagan.
4, please, Tara.
Thank you, Councillor Lay.
4.
Councillor Miller.
4.
Councillor Morgan.
4.
Councillor Neal.
4.
Councillor Pratt.
4.
Councillor Siddle.
4.
Councillor Siddle Norman. 4. Councillor Nick Spenceley.
4.
Councillor Paula Spenceley.
4.
Councillor Stevens.
4.
Councillor Stilts,
4.
Councillor Swindle,
4.
Councillor Thompson,
4.
Councillor Whiffen.
She's not here tonight, so.
Apologies. Chairman, the results of that are 23 for and 1 against, no abstentions.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Tara.
you,
So that's
Chairman.
carried. Thank you. We move on to 9E, which is Council Tax 2024-25, found on pages 411 to 420. And their recommendations are: 1, that Maldon District Council's council tax requirement for 2024-2025 is set at £5.917.173 millions. It scares me when I see a number like that. It really does. I'll tell you. Yes, I'm going, really? Yes, look at that. And I've read this about 30 times to get it right. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of money. That the Council District Council's band D, council tax excluding parish precepts, is set at £225.57, more on my level, reflecting an increase of £6.52, which is 2.98%. All other bands being determined in accordance with the relevant sections of the Local Government Finance Act 1992 as amended. Little 3, that the precept demands of the level of Band D council tax of the Essex County Council, the EPFCCFRA, for both police and fire, and the various parish councils within the district be determined as set out in the report. All other bands being determined in accordance with the relevant sections of the Local Government Finance Act 1992 as amended, and that little 4, that the council agrees the resolution set out in Appendix A. Tara, could I ask you to take a recorded vote on those, please?
Well, thank you, Chairman. Members, again, if you could just indicate for, against or abstain, please, in relation to agenda item 9E, as the Chairman has just read out. Starting with Councillor Bassinger, please.
4.
Councillor Bassinger.
Yes, 4. Yeah, it was a 4.
Sorry.
4 again. It's 8.
Apologies. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Burwood.
4.
Councillor Driver.
4.
Councillor Durham.
4.
Councillor Fittock.
4.
Councillor Fluker.
4.
Councillor Hayward.
4.
Councillor Hughes.
4.
Councillor Jennings.
4.
Councillor Lagan.
4, please, Tara.
Thank you. Councillor Lay.
4.
Councillor Miller.
4.
Councillor Morgan.
4.
Councillor Neal.
4.
Councillor Pratt.
4.
Councillor Siddle.
4.
Councillor Siddle Norman. 4. Councillor Nick Spenceley.
4.
Councillor Paula Spenceley.
4.
Councillor Stevens.
4.
Councillor Stilts.
4.
Councillor Swindle.
4.
Councillor Thompson.
4.
Thank you, Chairman. The results of that are 24 for, nobody's against and no abstentions.
That's lovely,
Thank you
Tara.
very much.
Thank you very much. You confirmed that that's being carried. And thank you, members, very much. And again, once again, thank you to the 151 officer and all the team for all the hard work that's been done, and the working groups as well. We move on to agenda item 10, which is questions in accordance with Procedure Rule 6.3, of which notice have been given. I can advise we have not received any questions from members of the public. We move at agenda item 11, which is a Police, Fire and Crime Commissioners election, the 2nd of May 2024 polling stations. I call upon Mr Dodson to present this report, please. Mr Dodson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner election takes place on the 2nd of May 2024. And the Council has a duty under the Representation of the People Act 1983 to designate polling places for each polling district. The Council has set these polling places previously. However, there is one change that's been identified. The officers have done visits to all of the proposed polling places to check that they're fit for purpose to continue in the role. However, there is one proposed change. For the May 2021 elections, Burnham Village Hall was used instead of Ormiston Academy, as the school couldn't accommodate the council at that time. For May 2023, the elections for the council returned to Ormiston Academy. However, following review and feedback from electors, officers are of the view that the village hall can accommodate the elections better and more appropriately than Ormiston Academy. So it's proposed to move the official polling place from Ormiston Academy to the village hall. And that's one of the recommendations of the report. As I say, all of the polling places have been visited and all are in line to go ahead as the polling places. However, sometimes there are changes, or there could be repairs, there could be an emergency at one of those places. So the report also seeks delegation for the returning officer to be able to amend those polling places and have delegation from council to enable that to be done in case of an emergency. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr Dodson. Therefore, we have members, before we go on to debate, there is two recommendations. Recommendations little one, that the elections to be held on the 2nd of May 2024, the council delegates authority to the returning officer to decide on suitable alternative venues should any designated polling station become unavailable. And two, that the changes as detailed in paragraphs 3.3 and 3.4 below be approved. The changes effectively request that Burnham Village Hall be used as a polling station for Burnham on Crouch North Ward, as debated. Any members have any comments? Okay, we agree this by assent, members? That's agreed. Thank you very much indeed. We move on to agenda item 12, which is Essex-wide devolution debate. And again, Mr Dodson, please.
Thank you, Chair. This will be a very short update, and I refer members to the letter circulated by the leader of the council on the 1st of February this year that was dated the 31st of January and came from the three upper tier authorities in relation to the latest position regarding devolution. This stated that whilst the upper tier authorities had largely come to an agreement on a tier 2 level deal, agreement couldn't be reached. There were reservations among some MPs regarding the establishment of a combined county authority for Greater Essex. And whilst I understand discussions went on for some time, government have now written to the upper tier authorities confirming that effectively the bid has timed out in terms of reaching agreement, and that there's not enough time left within this Parliament for that to be approved, even if agreement was now reached. So for that reason, the work has been paused until after the election. So that effectively pauses things for however long it is until that election. So this will be my final update on devolution until such time as anything changes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr Dodson. Councillor Fluker and Councillor Durham.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. The way I read it, the letter seemed to add more weight to the fact that our local MPs didn't necessarily all support this. I can remember when we spoke about this last time that Councillor Durham said some pretty disingenuous things about Mark Francois. But Chairman, I think it's important to understand maybe we're missing something. And perhaps Mr Dodson could give us some more information about why the MPs are not supporting this, bearing in mind it has been sold to this council as being such a good idea. I think, Chairman, the business about whether we have a mayor or not, I think that when the leader of Essex County Council realised that it was unlikely that mayor was going to be a Tory, I think he lost interest in that. But I really would like to understand, Chairman, why the MPs are against this, and more importantly, which MPs?
Thank you, Councillor. I think it's a question that is unfair on Mr Dodson because he can't speak for the MPs, and he's given us the updates as we've been going along. But Mr Dodson, do you have anything to add? I think it'd be very difficult to answer on other people's behalf.
Chair, it would be wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment because the meetings that happened between the MPs happened between the MPs, the three upper tier authority leaders, and representatives from DLUC. I understand reservations were presented by the MPs, but the detail of that hasn't been released outside of the meeting, so it would be inappropriate for me to speculate.
Yep, thank you very much indeed, Mr Dodson. Councillor Durham, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's worthwhile noting that out of the 11 devolution bids on the Secretary of State's desk, none were proceeded with. So it wasn't just the fact that Essex MPs stopped the Essex deal. The Secretary of State and indeed I think the Prime Minister put a kibosh on all of them. In terms of the MPs, I think there were, my information says, there were 2 that were against. The majority were broadly in favour of the level 2 deal, and there were 1 or 2 that were ambivalent. But I think that, well, draw your own conclusion. But there were certainly 2, one of which has already been named, that were definitely against. Chairman, it'll come back.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mr Dodson, for the update. Members, as it's an update, we move on to agenda item 13, which is any other items of business that the chairman decides are urgent. There are none. We now move on to 14, which is the exclusion of the public and press. And I need to move to the committee that we resolve, the council resolves that under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 1, 2 and 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Pratt, seconded. Thank you. So Tara, if you could let us know when